could be heard around the cabin that night. "Hush, hush, children," whispered Oma Beth. As she gathered the 3 children by her side, she frantically locked all the doors and windows of the little cabin secluded up in a thick patch of the Appalachian. She pulled down a piece of 2x4 which hung above the door of the frame, and placed the knotted piece of wood into 2 brackets on either side of the door. She'd shuttered the windows earlier in the day, but still told the children to keep away from them and stand as close as they could to the white-hot fire in the fireplace. Sparks were popping out, so Oma pointed her long, bony finger at Frederick and told him to keep your eye on those, boy. Stomp 'em out, and there's a bucket of water right there next to you in case you need it. The children had never seen the fire roaring with such fierceness before, the flames jumping high, red, orange, blue, and even white, dancing as if to the tune that no one else could hear, changing into shapes and faces and lashing upwards as if to reach out into the dark, starry night. The small patch of land that the cabin laid on was brightly illuminated by the largest full moon that Eliza had ever seen. She had taken a peek while helping Oma shutter the windows. Oma had been in a hurry and snapped at her. "Girl, we don't have time to daydream, child. Board these windows, you hear?" Oma's people had come from the old country, and Fred didn't know what that meant, but he knew that her people were a strong lot. Her and Papa had married right here in this cabin. Oma said it was love at first sight. Papa's people had come from the mountain. His people were poor but happy. They lived free and were a stubborn bunch. Oma fit right in. Charles was the baby of the 3 kids, and at 6 he was very much like Papa. He was built stocky and short. "Gonna take more than a strong wind to knock that boy over," Papa would joke. He was proud, too, that this boy looked so much like him. Oma was tall and thin, and must have been quite a beauty, 'cause Papa said that he had to fight quite a few of the men from the mountain to gain Oma's heart. Oma joked that she had let him, even though she loved him already, because she liked to see him tussle for her affection. They were hard-working people, and when the kids' mama and daddy had been violently killed while camping in the woods, some were heard to say, torn up. Well, it was just assumed that Oma and Papa would take them under their wing. They didn't talk about their only daughter and son-in-law's passing. Oma said those things are best left where they lie, and Papa would just walk away or go back to eating, or whatever he could do to not look Oma in the eye and to keep from talking. His face would get real red and his hands would shake. He didn't look like Papa when this happened. He looked more frail, almost frightened. Less large, Fred would think. The wind was whipping up something fierce outside, and the shutters were shaking on the windows, making a horrible clatter. Oma stoked the fire and threw in another log. The cabin felt as hot as an oven. Sweat was dripping off her brow. Then it came. A noise that could never be unheard. A look on Oma's face that could never be unseen, and a fear in that room that could never be unfelt. Fred was glad the room was hot. He didn't know why for sure, but he knew that whatever had come was cold as death. The scratching started. It sounded like a buzz saw being pulled down the walls of the cabin. Deep scratching and the noise. A growling, animal-like noise, penetrating above the sound of the scratching and the wind whipping up against the shutters. It sent a chill down Fred's spine. Charles did his best to curl his body around Oma's feet as the growling seemed to grow louder and louder, filling the cabin with a horrific sound as though it was coming straight from hell. Oma stoked the fire once again to keep the flames licking upwards, and she kept that up until finally around sunrise the wind, the scratching and clawing, and the growling died off, leaving the children exhausted to their bones, as Oma would say. Slowly, Oma stood up, kissed the children on their heads, and said, "Let me get you Tads tucked into bed." And as Charles passed the dinner table, he noticed that Papa's coat was missing from his chair. "Oh, Ma," he whispered. "Where was Papa?" Oma took in the child's question and looked over his face, which looked so much like her husband's, nearly identical. When she knew that she was out of earshot from the other two, she whispered, "My sweet child, someday soon, you will know. Papa will tell you the story of his people, the mountain people, and how you have been given a great gift and also a great burden, just like your Papa was. But for now, let's get you into bed." And just as the children were drifting off, they heard Oma lift the 2x4 from the door and welcome in Papa, telling him to get cleaned up quickly while she put a pot of tea on the stove. Thank you for coming to my channel. If you're not already and you would like to be, please subscribe. Also, it really helps if you click that like button, and it's totally free. And if you'd like to be notified of my new content, go ahead and click that bell. Good night.